Happy Sunday, everybody. This is Scott Grossberg, author of The Most Magical Secret, 4 Weeks to an Ecstatic Life. And I'm shooting this outside, and it's September, and everybody, as you can hear, is getting ready for the winter season to come. Some pruning is taking place. As a matter of fact, I've got a blog article coming for you talking all about pruning your life. So you're going to hear some noises in the background, birds singing. You may see some butterflies floating around in the back. Just take it all in. I want to talk to you today about something that I've written about a lot in this book, and it was actually the impetus for writing the book itself, and that's the concepts of success and happiness, based on my beliefs that you have an obligation to be a success and you have an obligation to be happy. Today's discussion is also built around a fascinating challenge that happened in publishing this book, and that was agreeing for the publication date on what this was going to be categorized as. Is it a happiness book? Is it a success book? Is it a self-help book? What is it? And I kept saying I want it to be success and happiness, only to discover there is no such category as success and happiness. There's a category of success and there's a category of happiness. So when you go and you look up the book now, for example, on Amazon, you will see it listed under 2 different categories. Why is that? As a matter of fact, if Amazon, for example, is so intent on putting out 2 different categories, I've got to believe that most of us are doing the same things in our lives. And it finally struck me, particularly following a live event that I just did, that we think about success and happiness 2 different ways. So today is part theory, part philosophy, and we're going to get insanely practical as well. We're going to do some down and dirty exercises, and it begins with, when I ask you if you're happy, most of us instinctively start doing this internal assessment and kind of checklist to see if we feel happy. What are we feeling? What are the emotions that are going on? And if those emotions all line up with what we call happy, you tell me you're happy. On the other hand, if I ask you if you're successful, you instinctively go to this internal checklist that says, I have this is how much money I've got, this is what I do, this is who I have around me, and you go through a checklist of monetary, material, real things. And when those all align, you tell me you're successful. And that got me to wondering, if I ask you to go back in time to a situation where you were extremely, ecstatically, amazingly happy, where would you go? So I'm thinking back right now to a couple times. Almost all of those, by the way, involved being with and around and sharing with and celebrating with loved ones and dear friends. Then I go a little bit deeper and I notice there are certain things that I'm doing that then give rise to the happiness factor for me. So I'm actually doing happiness. When I ask you to think back to some times when you were unbelievably successful, I'm willing to bet that your first inclination is to go back to a time when you felt successful, and then you work back immediately to what was going on. So, for example, one of the most confident, marvelous, successful times for me was when I auditioned for the Magic Castle. It seemed like an impossible task at the time. I was 21 years old, didn't have many life skills at the time. I was scared, I had stage fright. I actually wasn't sure whether I was going to pass the audition or not. Went through the audition, was accepted in, and when I walked out of the Magic Castle that night, the world was unstoppable for me. Anything was possible because of how I felt about the success I had just done. So think about all this for a minute. What are you doing to be happy? And what are you feeling to be successful? Those sound kind of counterintuitive because I don't think it's what most of us do. Most of us go through life feeling happy and doing success. And I'm asking you to reconsider all that, to rewire that part of you that does what you do right now and reprogram yourself to do happy, feel success. Now, what does that have to look like? Go back to those questions I asked before. Go back and ask yourselves, where were the times when I felt the happiest? And by the way, just as a little side note, happy is something we remember. So when I say you're doing happy, you're doing something physically. You're doing something to manifest in the world, and then you remember being happy about it. You're thinking being happy about something that you've already done. So go back, take a look at all those things that have made you happy, that you've allowed yourself to be happy about, that trigger the happiness, and start looking at what you were doing, the actions that were taking place that triggered that feeling of happiness, and start looking for a pattern. Because I believe you're going to find that there's a pattern of doing happiness that you've never recognized before. Something that you can look at and instantly put to use now in the future by continuing to choose to do those happy things. With success, I want you to go back, look at those things that you claim make up that inventory of success for you, and notice how you feel about them. Put all those things down on a list and just see how they make you feel. And again, you're going to start noticing a pattern. There are certain things that will trigger the feeling of happiness, and I want you to start creating a habit of that feeling. So our challenge today, what I'd like you to commit with me today, is a dedication, an obligation, an intent to start doing happy and feeling success. Just do that for a week. For this coming week, let's do happy, let's feel success. Combine them together, and then we can fully integrate everything on the back end. But for right now, I want you to take that counterintuitive approach. And it all begins, of course, with what I wrote in the book. Go back and take a look at the chapter, Say and Do. Now, Say and Do, if you haven't read it already, is a motto that appears on the bottom of my coat of arms, and it's say and do. It's very simple. You say something, you do it. It's something that makes you authentic, and it's something that sends a message internally to yourself, a self-script that says you're reliable. So let's now start saying and doing both success and happiness together. And with that thought, let's go out and make it a magical week.